Hi everybody, how you doing? Welcome to Live from Lockdown. Believe it or not, this is our 20th week we've been doing this now. Wow, that's a long time. So a lot of you have been here the entire time, which is absolutely amazing. So thank you for you who've been here for the entire ride. And believe me, it's been a fun ride. And of course, we've got lots more good stuff to go. I'm just going to close this down behind me because I think it's distracting a little bit. And also I set up a light. Let me see if this works. So I'll be right there. So I don't know if this looks any better or not, but I'm trying to slowly get things a little bit better. So, you know, I've also taken the mic off the table, so when I'm typing now it doesn't sound like a gorilla thumping on a on a table, so you don't hear that boom 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 anymore. So just trying to get this better as we go. And all right, yeah, 20 weeks has gone really fast. Now I just want to make sure you guys can hear me fine, right? Because I know the mic is slightly differently positioned than it was in the past. So I'm just going to check here on the comments here and make sure that that's good. And I'm just going to pop you guys up here on the screen. There you are. And as soon as I get confirmation that you can hear fine, what we're going to do is we're just going to kick off. Volume is fine. Good. I just always want to make sure of these things because, you know, I don't want to be, 10 minutes into it. You guys can't hear me. And the other thing I'm going to do too is I'm just going to pop myself on the screen there so you can see me. So there's the chats. Hi, everybody. So what I'm going to do is we're going to jump in now. We're going to do the lesson. Sorry for the late start. YouTube had changed some things in the menu and I had to figure it out. But we're going to kick off right now and we are going to look into the libraries. Then we're going to do fix my photo and then we're going to hang out at the end and we're going to have a chat and just kind of, hang out a little bit, do our afterglow. All right, so I'm just going to move the chat just off to the side window here and I'm just going to make it a little bit bigger so I can see it. Yeah, we definitely should be having a party. Of course, in New Zealand, the tradition is to have the party. Well, actually, 18, but the 21st. 21st is a big party. So, you guys can bring your virtual cups of coffee with whatever you like to put in those next week. And next week, we're going to do one on compositing as well. So it's going to be fun. And we're going to be celebrating 21. Wow, that's crazy. All right. Thank you, Susan. Glad you can hear me. All right. So what we're going to do, because I had a lot of you guys were asking about libraries. And don't worry, we're not just going to do libraries this week. But I really do want to have a look at libraries because these are so powerful. And I'm amazed at how many people are just not using them or not really taking full advantage of them. So I'm curious, why don't you guys just pop in there in the chats there. Let me know how many of you guys there are using the libraries. Let me know. Because I'm curious, or how many of you are not using the libraries. I'm going to give you all kinds of ideas today, different ways we can use the libraries, and we're going to look at, just some of the functionality that's in there. All right, so just want to get to my little thing here. There we go. Okay. So let's see the chats there. Don't use them much. No, don't use them. Never use it. Never have. Okay. So I'm going to show you some things. Maybe this will change it. Of course, it's entirely up to you whether or not you use the libraries or not. I think designers are going to find them more useful than photographers, but photographers don't discount them because they are still very helpful. These things have been in Photoshop for a while, and trust me, they've changed my life. And the reason for that is because I spent so much time digging around trying to find things. How many times have you been trying to find that logo or that icon? There's certain things, or these, social banners, or just things that I use over and over again. I've even got my Live from Lockdown logo in there. And essentially, it's a great place to save things that you're going to use frequently, but it's so much more than that. So why don't we just start? I'm just going to create a new document. And why don't I just do something like, I don't know, let's grab this. And I'm going to hide the guides, because we don't want to look at those guides. They're great, but, let me go back to the default colors there. Okay, great. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag a color in here. Actually, I'm just going to double click on that color and notice it's going to open it. And don't worry, I'm going to show you how to set all this up. I just want to get something laid down right now. So I'm going to hit the Alt backspace key, and what it's going to do is it's just going to fill it with blue. Well, lo and behold, this is the blue that I use for photoshopCAFE. In fact, I'm in the PSC library right now, so I'm just going to start with these assets, and we'll look at photos and different types of things. But right now, I want to show you the most useful things. There's certain things that you have when you have a brand. Now, whether you're a designer, photographer, illustrator, it doesn't matter what you do, you still need to have some kind of a brand. And that brand identifies you. The brand is so much more than visual. You know, it's also culture. It's, you know, the way you do things. There's a lot, you know, like the way we do things here at photoshopCAFE. It's down to earth. And you guys know we're definitely down to earth. You know, and it's just like we're like no BS, down to earth. That's kind of like our brand. But then there's also the visual branding. And the visual branding is things like blue. This is the blue that I use all the time. Now these oranges accent the blue, so these are colors that I use. And then also, of course, you know, in here there's a logo, so let me just drag the logo out, and if we have a look there, yeah, the logo is slightly different blue than the brand blue, which is, you know, frankly, it's just an oversight on my part, but I like the fact that at least you can see it. So what we're doing in the library is we're putting these frequently used things in one place. So say, for example, I want to build something. You know, I want to build a banner, a splash screen, or something like that. You know, I can start here, you know, and then I'm like, you know, I want to put a Twitter icon on there. I want to put a YouTube icon on here. I want to put a, you know, Instagram icon, Facebook, you know, so these are things I'm going to use a lot. Maybe I want to say, you know, it's going to be a video, so we're going to put a play button there. Let's make it bigger. And these are assets that I've created. In fact, let me just select these. If we grab these different ones here, we can actually arrange them. So I'm here inside the layers panel here. I've selected those. And if I want to arrange them, you know, I can do things like, you know, why don't we just evenly just align them there, and why don't we evenly distribute them? So we can do that. So what we've got, there's alignment there, and now we want to do distribution right there. You know, so we could do something like that. You know, if I wanted to create something, I'm just kind of just showing you what we can do here. So by doing this, you know, maybe I'll hit the 4 key. You know, I'm going to go in here, I'll put these into a layer. I want to lower the opacity of all of these. So I've selected those 4 icons. Control G puts them into a group. And I'll tap the 4 key, drops the opacity on that group. So that was a quick way to lower the opacity on all of these at once. And that's another tip too. If you're working with different icons and things like that, and they're all going to be manipulated in the same way, you want to put them into a group like I have here. That way we can change the opacity, blend modes, different things like that. Or if we even want to apply effects, we can go here and then we can do things like, you know, let's drop a drop shadow in there. Notice it applies to everything because I'm doing it to the group. So if you're doing multiple icons, frames, different things like that, work on that group and it'll keep everything uniform without having to go in there and change each one of these individually. All right, so this is just basically laying something down so we can, you know, just get started. So these are the different assets and things like that, and, you know, that I might use over and over again. So I now have them in one place. Now if I click on the library here, I have, let me just go in here. I've got something happening. There we go. Notice we've got all different types of libraries here. So I don't just have to have one library. I can create multiple libraries for multiple things. So here's one that I've created. It's called templates. And so I'm showing you the actual working library that I use now. So here's with the templates here, there's things that I might use. Like some of you guys might be familiar with the newsletter. Let me double click. There's the header for the newsletter. And we used to call it the Cafe Cup. We haven't done the Cafe Cup in a while. But this is essentially how we did it. And look at this. This entire document is the size we want. Let me move the library out of the way just for now. In fact, I'll just dock it, just so you can see the kind of things that are contained in here. Wait for that to turn blue. There we go. Great. And so, you know, we can go here and we've got live text here. You know, I could change the June, and I just grab my type tool here and I could say, you know what, August. And boom, there we go. So this is something that I can use over and over again. Of course, the logo, everything here is separate. And this is a quick way for me to start, so I never have to create anything from scratch. There's other things like the end cards on YouTube. I've created that here, and everything is in its layer. In a second, I'm going to show you how to create all these for yourself. And as you can see, there's just things that I might reuse, like when I'm writing books, for example. If I go down here, let me see if I can find the book one. And I'll show you, we've got book assets. Let's have a look here. Where am I? Book assets. So, here's things like I might do numbering. And so I'm creating these assets, or these things that I can reuse over and over again. I want to do a call out. There's a call out. I don't have to create it more than once. So this is a nice thing about the library, is you can organize all the assets, things that you might use, and you can organize them in there, and they're ready to go. But then there's other things like here, for example, under Toots. These are the images I use for the tutorials. And so these are images. Some of these are my images. Some of these images I got from Adobe stock. But the thing is, they're all here in one place. So, you can save other things like assets, something I was playing around with, sky overlays. If I want to play around and I want to put, some rain over something here, I probably should have put a photo on there. They're here. So it just saves you digging around and spending forever in menus digging around. Let's just open this one here. I'll double click it. Let's go back to the sky overlays and let's drop some rain over there. And, I'm just going to go in, and we talked about overlays, patterns, textures, and stuff like that last week. And we can go in here, we can change the blend mode. And look at that, now it's raining. Just different things like that. So these can just be super useful to just have all of these things at your fingertips. But you can go beyond that. The kind of things we can put in here, we can put in fonts, we can put in colors, we can put in styles, brushes, photos, different things like that. We can put our brushes in here, frequently used brushes. And of course, I'm going to show you how to add all these. I'm just kind of giving you a tour first. And, we've just got all kinds of different things in here. Like, here's some brushes. And, I've got these brushes here. If I want to find them, here they are. And, of course, if I want to use them, just grab my brush tool. And there we go. Now I'm on there and I'm working with my brushes, because all I needed to do was just select that brush. Just gonna make it, we can apply it there. We can grab a different one, boom, just like that. And you can see how quick and easy it is to access things. We can do colors, we can do gradients. So there's so many different things that we can save in here. And here's one that I can't show you guys. Well, maybe I'll quickly show you. So we got stuff like this. This is comic books. So this is a client I'm working with, and I can actually use these from his location. So I go there, because these are in the Creative Cloud. When I log in with my ID, that library is available for me. So I can actually go home and I can work on that library, prepare the assets, go to my clients, and they're there. But not just that, you can share these libraries with different people. So if you go in there and you invite people into that library, then you can collaborate. So you can create a library that more than one person is working on. And so when I log into my client's Creative Cloud, that shared library is there with all the assets, and I can work on it from their location or from my location. Or we can share them with different people. So this is another thing that's like really powerful about them, is the fact that they're available for you anywhere, because they sync in the cloud. So whenever you open Photoshop and even other Adobe applications, these libraries are available, when you go into Illustrator, different things like that. Okay, so I love them because they're just so useful, because everything you want is just there. It follows you around, and it's available wherever you want. I would imagine one day that, all our syncing, it's not happening right now, but I would imagine one day all the syncing is going to happen through that library, for all our presets and stuff like that, our brushes and extras, so we don't lose them. Because how many times have we lost brushes and things like that when we reload Photoshop? In fact, I wish by default they just created a library which said assets, and all our assets are in there. So anyway, now that you kind of know the basics of how a library works, let's look a little bit deeper into it, like some of the features and also how we can make our own library. Now, one of the things that's interesting here too is that we can create groups. Let me just go under my templates. And if I wanted to create a group, I could go down here and I could create a new group and I could call it PSC or whatever you want. So photoshopCAFE. And so maybe now I want to take, my DVD covers when I was making DVDs. Now we just do digital downloads. But I can grab these and I could just drop them in there. And this is a way now where we've got these folders inside the library so we can go in and we can organize them. You can automatically group them. So if we go down under here, we have the option. Where are we? The groups here. I think it's up here for the automatic group. I'm not going to do it right now, but you have the ability to automatically group it. I personally don't do that because I like to have control over what's in there. So what I'm going to do is we're going to start with a new library. Let's create a brand new library, and we're going to call it Live from Lockdown, and we're going to click Create. So there's absolutely nothing in here right now. So let's have a look at how we can add things into the library. So maybe the blue is a color that we like. That's our foreground color. We've got our rain overlay there. We've got our images. Why don't we put some text in here? And I'm going to call this one my favorite font. It's Arial. It's a useful font. Probably not my favorite font, but it's there. That's fine. All right, so what we can do is we can go into this library and we can do this in an existing library, or we can do this in a new library. And if we click here, we have the option to create a new library from the document. And this says, hey, if we're using any character styles or anything like that, or any colors, we can bring these in. Now, for photographers who are thinking, oh man, this is not for me, wait a second, there it is for you, because you can save different things like brushes, watermarks, signatures, all these kind of things, even, frames for triptychs. There's a lot of different things that we can do. So these are useful for everybody. So if I click here, I could create that new library just from going there. I don't want to create a new library because we already have one. So I'm just going to hit the little plus key here, and I'm going to say, here's the things I can bring in. So I can bring in the graphic, which is obviously the photograph, and the overlay, the text. We can bring all this stuff in. And the character style is basically going to bring in that font. So it's just going to style whatever text you select, and then you apply this style. It's going to change into that font and size. So why don't we just add all? And then by adding all, notice we've got the white color here. We've got our color there, which is our blue, got brought in. There's the font. There's my favorite font. And now if we want to bring these graphics in, we're just going to go under here and we're going to click on graphic. In fact, let me select the graphic first. Actually, I believe I just drag it in. Here we go. I can drag that graphic in there. Come on, get in there. Oh, you know why? Let me just go in there and drag that in. All right, this is always fun when it doesn't work. These should go in. There we go. And I believe this one's going in because it's a smart object. Let me convert it to a smart object, and it should go in. Yeah. So that was a library linked smart object. So the reason it wouldn't come in when it had that little cloud, that means it was syncing with an object that was already in the library. And then you don't want to have two copies, because if you change one, it's going to change the other one. So that's why I converted it to a regular smart object, and then I could bring it in here. And now to use them, all you need to do is just drag them out, and you can use them. So this is just at the most basic thing. So if we grab a brush here, and I hit the default colors, and I wanted to use this color, I just click on that color. Notice it becomes the foreground. I can select here. If I've got the type tool, it's going to select that particular font. So let's go in here, change it to something else, click in there and type. Let's see if that works. And click on there. I guess that's not looking like that's working. All right, I'll hang on. Here we go. Do I have to? Nope. All right, so that was fun. All right. But anyway, as you can see, we can drag and drop these things in here. I'm doing something wrong with the type, obviously. And you can see that how we can build these kind of things in here into this library. Now, there's more useful things that you could bring in, like, say, things like brushes. So let's have a look here. So if we go under brushes, we're going to choose window, and we're going to choose our brushes. Then when our brushes come up, maybe we have things that we want to use. Like I'm going to go down here, and I've got some useful brushes. You know, things like clouds. So let's just drag that in there. Notice that we just get it. We can just, now that cloudy brush is in there. What does that do? Well, let's have a look. Let's create a new layer. Let's grab a brush. And let's go in here. We grab that cloudy. And let's see if that worked. There we go. Now you can see that cloudy one selected. I'm going to make it a little smaller because you can't see the outline because it's huge. So we got that new layer now, white, and notice we selected the cloudy. Now it's there as the brush. And then we could just go in here and we could drop some nice clouds there to match that rain. So we can see we can start to put all our different brushes and different things like that. Layer styles can all go in there too. So if we go up here and we choose a style, let's go into our styles here, and maybe you wanted this style, you can just simply drag it in there, and there it is, it's now available. And of course, you know, we're not going to apply that to a brush stroke, but you know, different things we can do. So you can put all these different things inside the library. All right, so now that we've kind of shown you like what libraries are for, what you can put in libraries, there's another way you can work too. If you have a whole image, and this is not going to look good because I haven't actually created anything yet, but if you put it in a group, Control G, for that group, this is how you would put a whole layout. So imagine, you know, that this was an actual layout that you would use as a template, which of course it's not, but we could just drag that group in here, and then what that does when you close it, let's close out this document. Let's close these out. In fact, why don't we do something that actually looks good? That would be better. Okay, so why don't we do our newsletter one? I'll show you how I did this. So all we need to do is put it inside that group. Control G will put it inside the group, drag that group into the library, and there it is. So now if I close this out, and I don't save it, you know, we close out all of our documents. So here we are inside of Photoshop, no documents, and then I want to reuse that, just simply double click it, boom, it opens. There it is in the group with all the layers. So if you want to put some kind of a design in there or some kind of a template, just put it into that group. And then when you save it as that group, then it's going to have all the layers and everything intact. And you could go to any computer, log into your Creative Cloud account, pop this open, everything's going to download, and you're going to be able to work on this document from anywhere you are. Oh, Bruce is here. Good to see you, Bruce, in the house. All right. I thought Bruce was not coming this week, but it looks like he made it. Unfortunately, I think his cat was sick. So I hope your cat's doing well, Bruce. All right. So that's essentially how we do it. Okay, but there's more things we can do, much, much more we can do with this. Let me go back to, something like templates or something I might be using. And, just things that you're going to do, like these overlays, like before and afters. You've probably seen these on my thumbnails for YouTube, right? The before and after thumbnails. There they are. I don't have to recreate them every time. And I don't have to dig around in folders looking for these or searching my computer. They're there. Now, what if I'm trying to find something, though, inside of the library? Because I've got a lot of libraries. If you look at this, look how many libraries I've got. I got a ton. And so if I want to search it, I could click under the search here, and I want to search for orange. Now, I have the option of where I want to search. Right now, it's the current library. I'm not seeing anything because there's nothing in this library by the name of orange. But if I go under here, and I can go to Adobe Stock, and we'll talk about that in a second, or I can choose all libraries. Now it goes to all the libraries that I have, and anything that has the keyword of orange is now available. So I'm just going to double click. We're going to open that, and there we go. We've got pictures of oranges. All right, so we could do, women, and we've got lots of these in here. So let's grab this one here. We're going to double click, open that as a new document. Check this out. If I want to do a composite, I could go into the orange and I could drag that in, or watch this. I could just go back to orange. And these are ones I've already downloaded or have in my library. I can just drag in there and I can build a composite that simply. So can you imagine things that you use a lot, like lens flares, birds in the sky, clouds, different things that you might be using a lot in your composites? You can build libraries with these and then just simply drag them into your photos to start to build up artwork. Okay, here's some questions in here I'm going to look at quickly. Are the photos in the library just the placeholders or full resolution photos? Those are the full resolution photos, Hannah. So, yeah, so these are the real deal. They're not just, placeholders. Yeah. So obviously you want to be thoughtful about what you upload there, just things that you're going to use, more over and over again. I don't put things I'm only going to use once in the library unless I'm working on another computer, which I do for my tutorials. In that case, I just want to have access to them from the other computer. But things I'm going to be using over and over again, I will put here in the library, and it just saves me so much time. Like for example, Pinterest cover, So these are the titles on Pinterest. I can just create these. I create them once, and I'm good to go. Pinterest post. Here it is. I've got one here, and next time I want to post on Pinterest, I don't have to look and see, okay, what size is this supposed to be? Even Instagram posts, different things like that. It's all here inside the library. Now, one little trick or one thing that you got to watch out for. When you're saving something here as a document template, like you want a particular size that's going to work on Instagram, for example, make sure that you crop the final document, because if you don't crop that final document, that library is going to create it to the bounds of whatever images are inside that image. So, the way to do that is, when you're done, just hit Control A, which will select everything here, and then just choose Image Crop. And then that will crop everything down to those bounds. So now when you save it to Creative Cloud library, it's going to be at those exact dimensions. And also watch out for smart objects. Okay, so Donald uses these regular. Can you share libraries in Photoshop Classic versus Creative Cloud? What do you mean by Photoshop Classic? Are you talking about Photoshop CS6? Because the libraries are Creative Cloud libraries, and I believe they're only available in CC because they didn't exist before then. So yeah, you missed how to open libraries. How to open libraries is simple. It's a libraries panel. Choose Window, and just go down to Libraries. All right. So there's much more that we can do with these libraries. So let's have a look at something that we can do that's creative and fun with these libraries. So let's go through here. We've got this one here, which is fun, right? And what I want to do is I want to do something more creative. Now, get ready, guys. Your mind is about to be blown. Are you ready? All right, here we go. So you can go under here, and as of course we know we can add things, like these different things here. Let me select these, hit Control G to put them into a group. I'm just going to unlock these, and let me just convert that one. I'm just going to rasterize it just to get everything ready. So there we go. We've got those, and I'm just going to select the top one. We have this option here that says Create from Image. Let me show you how I got to it. So we select on that layer. Here's our library. Go down and you hit the little plus button, Create from Image. Are you ready? Okay, so when we click on this, now we get the option to do a ton of things. We can do patterns. Look at this. We've got different shapes that we can do for these patterns. And we can scale them up or down, and we can tile them. We can rotate these. Look at this. All these different things that we can do in here. I think this is pretty cool. So I wanted something maybe I can use as a background. I think this is a good background texture that we could use. So I'm going to save it to the CC libraries. Great. Let's look at something else. In fact, why don't we, I'm just going to close this. Let's click on our model. And notice here in the library, there it is, the capture pattern right there. In fact, why don't we create a new library for this? This will be better. And I can delete this later. And I'll just give it a random name, and we can get rid of this. So let's just keep everything uncluttered to make it easy for you guys. So let's go in here again, Create from Image. This is going to come up. We're going to go to the patterns, and let's find a nice pattern that we can use. Something like this. Let's scale it up a bit. Yeah, see, this is nice. I like this. See, you can get all kinds of crazy with this. Okay, I like this. So let's save it to CC Library. And notice what happens. It saves that pattern. So if we wanted a different pattern, maybe this one, save to CC Libraries. And now it saves the other patterns. So see how we can start to build up a library of patterns from our photos. So you can see that's pretty cool. All right, so I'm just going to close this out. But there's more we can do with this. Let's click on our model here. And let's go here, and we're going to choose Create from Image. So we could go in here, of course. You know, this is kind of fun. We could put her face in there. And, you know, this would be good if you're a pop star or something like that. Also, you can position it. Look at this. Notice we're positioning it around. So see how fun that is? I kind of like that. Let's save that to a CC library. Something you would use for wallpaper for like a fan page or something like that. And of course we know we can move all of these. But there's more, guys. Get ready for this. So we can go into shapes now. And look at this. We can choose detail. And it's actually... Look at that. We can go all the way up here. And literally we could create this. We could invert it. Look. And I'm going to save to CC library. It's going to take just a moment. And look at this. Now we've got the person there. So let's continue. We can go into color themes. Now get ready for this. The color themes are pretty crazy. So in these color themes, we can choose different colors. And, you know, obviously you can see that there, you know, we're selecting colors from this photo. So maybe you want something from the background. We like the purple there in her skirt, but why don't we move to a darker purple? There we go, a couple of different shades of purple there. And we can move these around. Maybe we want the red on her lipstick. And we can start to build up a color theme that we could use for branding or whatever we wanted to do. You know, you could use these for overlays. And we're just going to click to CC libraries. So now we've saved colors. Okay, it gets even more. Gradients. Now we can create custom gradients here. And you know what? If I want something like, say, this dark, like this black to purple. So let's go to purple in her skirt. See if we can select that. There we go. We got the purple. Let's take this to black. And you want this, you know, it could go to white in the middle, or it could go to the black as well. See what we're doing here. So you could add more points in here and, you know, just kind of create these gradients. So maybe we're going to go like that and save to CC library. And notice this. So we could keep going and we could keep creating different gradients. Now, if you want more stops or less, just drag it down. Now it's just 2. So we could go from this shade to this shade. How often have you needed to create a gradient in a photo? You know, and this is where landscape photographers could be doing this for skies and different things like that. Save there. Now you've got that, and you'll always have it in the library. So, you know, there's lots of different things. Of course, you can go crazy with the gradient stops and, you know, just create this crazy gradient, which could be fun for simulating things like metal, steel, different things like that. And then click close. And look at this. We've now created this library of assets that we can use. So what if we want to just start off with this cool background? So I'm going to just go to the top layer and we're going to drag our background in there. And so now we've set up a background. And by the way, this background now is a live pattern. And if you guys watched last week, you know, when we were working with, I'm just going to close some of these down. When we were working with patterns last week, remember, we double click on here and we can change the scale of this. So we can make it smaller. Watch what happens on there. We can make it larger. So we can change the size of this. So you can get it how you want it. And of course we can change the angle. So we've got all this control over here. And, you know, let's just click OK to apply it. And now let's take this shape that we grabbed and we're going to drag it over the top here. And here it is. Now, someone was asking, is this a vector or a bitmap? I'm not. Let's have a look. Let's find out. Actually, the easy way to find out is if we make this really huge. If it pixelizes, it's, you know what? This looks to me like it's a vector shape. Look at that. That is not pixelizing. So yeah, it creates a vector shape. Now let me explain the difference between pixels and vectors for those of you who don't know the difference. Pixels are a set resolution. So that means that if you scale them up, they get softer and they lose their sharpness. Vectors are mathematical information, kind of like how Illustrator works. And what that does is you can scale it infinitely up or you can scale it infinitely down, and it does not pixelize. So you'll never get the jaggy edges. Edges are always going to be smooth at any resolution. Also, the file size is tiny. So if you want to build a whole library here of these shapes, which of course you could, the file size it's going to add to your library is going to be minuscule, like almost non-existent. Okay, so we've got one. Let's create the Alt or the Option key, and we're going to drag out and copy. So now we've got two of these. In fact, why don't we make one bigger than the other, just for the sake of, not being Andy Warhol? Because if I did multiples of the same size, then it would look like his Marilyn Monroe or whatever it was. All right, so we can see here we can scale these up and down, and we're not losing any size. Okay, so what about if we want to do something with these gradients that we created? Let's grab our gradient here, and I believe I need to use the gradient tool. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to click the plus button. Not the plus button. Hang on, let me move my picture to the left so it's not getting in the way. And we're going to create a gradient overlay. Awesome, so we've got a gradient overlay. I wonder if I can click in that gradient and apply it. No. Let's see if it was added. I'm always curious, so just so you know, I don't mind experimenting here because, I don't know everything about everything here. So it doesn't look like it was added there. So I believe I would have to... Can I double click it into there? No, I might just have to double click. There we go. Double click applies that gradient. All right, so if we double click on this gradient, this gives us adjustments. So what I want to do though is I want this gradient just to affect the layer underneath. So we're going to hit the Alt or the Option key, and notice how this turns into a little arrow. If I click with the arrow, now it's clipping that gradient to that image. Let me double click again to go into our gradient options. Now one of the things we can do here is we can scale this gradient up or down. So let's make that bigger or smaller. So what this is going to do is just going to spread the gradient. You see how it's kind of changing it? Now we can reposition it by dragging across. Notice now we're making more of the image purple. Or less. So you can, by adjusting that scale, you can determine how quickly that gradient changes. Let me drag across, see that? And of course we can change the angle. All these different things that we can do here, it's pretty cool. And reset alignment is just going to put it to its original position. And let's bring it up to 100%. Is there a limit to the file size you can add to the library? I'm going to say there is. I don't know what it is off the top of my head, but maybe someone can Google that right now and let us know and drop it into the chat. That would be interesting to know. So you can see, there's all these different things that we can do here, and these are assets that we literally just created from photos working here in the library. Now, if there's other things you want to do, like over the top of this, like maybe you want to add some, some hills. So we're going to type in hills into our library. And, well, look at that, I've got hills. So I could drag those hills out. But if I didn't like these hills or I wanted some different ones, I could go under here where it's searching all libraries. I could go out to Adobe Stock. And now it's going out and it's searching Adobe Stock. And it's finding hills on Adobe Stock. Awesome. So I like this one. There's millions of photos there, by the way. Millions. I think I like this one because it's more vectory, kind of like what we're working with. I'm going to save this. So I'm just going to hit the plus button. And now it's going to save it here into my library. And I can drag it. And of course it's, a low resolution comp that we can use. Looks like it's a vector here from Illustrator. And I'm just going to Control Shift click across here. And I'm just resizing it. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag this down beneath. So we've got it underneath. And maybe we'll let the colors go through. So we're just going to use something like, luminosity. And let those colors go through underneath. Create a layer mask. Let's grab a gradient. And then with the gradient, I'm just going to hit the D key. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to blend this. So I'm set the foreground to white, background to black. Created the gradient. And then we're going to use the linear gradient. and then just drag it across like that, and now we can blend it away. And I probably shouldn't show you how to hide that watermark, but we can go that way as well. Now, of course, if you want the high resolution image of this, you click on it in here and see that little thing. You can click there, and this will give you the option to license it. And if you click confirm, what it will do is it will replace this with the high resolution version that doesn't have the watermark on it. So you can use the watermarked versions like I am there just for comping, just playing around, having fun, experimenting, learning. That's one of the things I would recommend a lot is go to Adobe Stock, download a whole ton of stuff if you're learning, and just use it. You don't have to license it. Just get a feel of how to work with different images. And then if you come up with something you really love and you want to make it big, then go ahead and license those images. So some different things you can do there. If you design a gradient in Photoshop, is it available for InDesign if you save it to the library? I believe it is not. I don't think the gradients are compatible across Photoshop and InDesign. If I'm wrong, someone pop it in there, but I believe the way InDesign builds the colors is different than Photoshop. If you license something, how much does it cost for, say, one art piece image? Adobe has different plans. And maybe someone can bring that up. In fact, why don't I bring it up here? Let me have a look. There's Adobe Stock. Plans, I don't know, so I'm going to tell you right now. I know that you, rather than buy one image, you definitely want to be doing the, here we go. Okay, so you could do the $30 a month, gives you 10 images. $80 a month gives you 40 images. $160 gives you 350 images. So I know that, that's not very expensive. If you worked, I know a lot of the jobs I had, back in the day, when we used to license a lot, or we buy those images. Remember the CDs? You'd pay like $300 for 100 images. I don't know if you guys remember that, like the royalty-free stuff. Some of you probably done that. But I remember licensing images for $150 to use an image once, and you're limited to what kind of a run you can use on it. But here they're royalty. So if you license something, how much does it cost for, say, one art piece? So I took individual one, I'm not sure. Like $7, $5, I don't know. $10. I'm unsure because I have a subscription, so each month I get those. So anyway, but yeah, so those are actually very cheap compared to what the alternatives used to be. And Chris remembers those days. Yeah, what was it? Comstock and what were those visual? Oh, dynamic vision or something. I do. I see if you guys can remember that. I'm showing my age. All right. Okay, so here we can be kind of playing around for libraries. And I think I've given you kind of a little bit of an overview. So if you got any questions or anything about these libraries, let me know. And then we're going to jump in right now and we're going to work on some photos, fix my photo. But first of all, any questions and analysis on the library, let me know. The price per image varies from image to image from Tracy. Thank you. It's good to know that. So does this stuff save locally? If we are off net, we have access. Yes. When you create your library, what it does is it downloads a copy of that to your machine. So it's not all in the cloud. It's in the cloud so you can sync it, but it's also local. So even if you don't have an internet connection, you have access to everything inside of your library. Yep. Okay. So great. Cheap. Those are free. Yeah, of course there are free alternatives. But also watch out for some of those free alternatives when it comes to using them on commercial projects, because some of them do have license limitations. And so yeah, you can find free ones. You can subscribe to there's plenty of other options. iStock Photo, different things like that. One of the things I like about Adobe Stock is, the ease of use of being able to search and use them directly inside here from Photoshop. But yeah, if you can find what you want for free, absolutely go for it. All right. So, any other questions in here? Let's see. Doesn't look like it. All right. Oh, can you save these libraries to an external hard drive? Yes, you can, Gigi. It's a little bit tricky. what you've got to do is you have to find out where they are, which you can find. You can easily find them, just Google them. And then from there, all you need to do is just drag and drop them over, or you could just, save them directly from here. There's another thing that's interesting too, is you can export your library. See that? So I can choose here, and I can actually export it as a library file, which means if I don't have internet access, I can save this library file. I would select that folder, and then I could export it. And then I could put that on a thumb drive. I could take it to another computer and load it in. Not only is it going to bring in all the images and everything, but it's also going to bring them in, and they're going to be organized and sorted in the library. So that's kind of another nice thing you can do. Also, where you can view them in list view, or you can view them in grid view. All right. So yes, anyway, yeah, guys, if you're liking this, thank you for bringing up Ray, and just hit that like button, because it does help the algorithm let us know that we're let people know that we're live and we're here. And also, if you haven't subscribed to photoshopCAFE, consider hitting that subscribe button and turn on notifications. All right, guys, are you ready for Fix My Photo? Let's roll the intro. And here we are, Fix My Photo, favorite segment here. I know it's definitely been popular with you guys. And one of the things you might notice here is we've got a URL, fixmyphoto.net. Yes, so much easier. So basically, I'm going to be working on photos that you guys are submitting. So these are your images. And if you want to submit your photos, just click on that link, type in fixmyphoto.net. And fearlesscafe.com also works, but we used before. So all their previous links still work. And then just upload the images. I prefer it that if you can upload raw files. If you don't have raw files, high resolution JPEGs would be nice, larger than 2,000 pixels. And then we can look at your guys' photos and consider working on them this week. So let's see what we've got here. I'm going to open them up right now. Oh, yes, we prefer them unedited. And please put your name in the file name, because if you don't put your name in the file name, I can't shout you out because I don't know who created it. So change that file name to your name. And, of course, I'll give you a shout out when we use your photos. So why don't we go in here? I'm just looking at the photos right now. I'm going to switch over. So here we are. We've got some photos that we had submitted last week, and we're getting through these. And then we've got some new ones that have been submitted. Why don't we have a look at some of the new ones here? And there's some lovely images here. And also, if you want to put a note in here like Tracy did, and Tracy just wanted to show this picture. She said it wasn't a submission, or maybe it was, but she was working with multiple exposures, and this is what she said in a note here. And just wanted to show, how she can create more dynamic range in the clouds here, in the bottom here, and then we've got the ghosting of the people in and out. Now, if that's something you wanted, that's great. And if you didn't want to have the kids in there, which is basically two kids, because they're changing position when you do HDR, you're going to get ghosting, which is going to show them more than once. You can choose to deghost image, and you can turn those off. All right, so thank you for submitting that, Tracy from Oklahoma. All right, so I'm going to look at this one here from Jason Halliday. So let's open this up, because this is, suffering from a few different things that we can have a look at here. So this is an image, maybe it's a digital image from a low resolution camera. Are you here, Jason? Let us know if you're in the house. And the big problem here is color noise. So obviously we're not going to be able to get this image perfect. We're not going to be able to turn it into, a pristine image. But, sometimes we want to just do the best with a photo that we have, is preserved. It could be, from a different time, a different past, the person in here. Yep, you are. Great. How are you? Thank you for submitting the picture. All right, so let's have a look here and see what we can do to make this better. I can see a lot of the problem it's having here is with the noise, with the color. The colors are very kind of spotty, and that's what we're going to focus on. So there's different ways we could do this. So why don't we start with the simplest way. I'm just going to duplicate it so we can look at the before and after. And then we're just going to go into Camera Raw and let's see what we can do with noise reduction. So we're going to choose Filter, and we're going to choose the Camera Raw filter. Now, if you have an earlier version of Photoshop, you can go in here and you can get to this by going into Bridge, right-clicking, and choose to open in Camera Raw. All right, so what we want to do is get rid of the color noise. So I have a feeling we're not going to get all the way here with this, but let's see what we can do. So we're going to go down to the Detail. And under Detail, we have two types of noise. In fact, let's go to 100%. Because you really want to be looking at this at 100% so you can see the artifacts. Let me just have a water here. So you can see we have these blocky artifacts. Now, one of the things I found is when we go under here and we use color noise reduction, this can kind of help with reducing it. Notice what we're doing here. See, we've got the spots here, and we can go in there, and it's kind of helping. See that up there? Under the eyes and stuff, but we're not getting all the way there, are we? But it's definitely helping a little bit. You could go into the regular noise reduction a little and try to reduce that kind of effect and then go back and sharpen it. That's one way we could do that. So why don't we just do it a little bit? We're just going to bring that in a little bit because we don't want to lose too much image quality there. And we're going to do the color noise reduction. Great. So this has just got rid of some of the smudging and the colors and different things like that. So let's click OK. And if we look at this before and after, we've got a lot better, but we haven't got all the way there. Now, there's two different things we could do here. I'm going to drag out the channels panel, and I'm going to duplicate this because I want to show you method 1, M1, and M2 for method 2. So I'm going to show you a couple of ways we could do this. One of the ways we could do this is to look at the individual color channels. Now, channels are under Window Channel. And if we look at the red channel, it's not too bad. The green channel, it's not bad. And in the blue channel, here is our culprit. The problems are happening inside of the blue channel. So this is what we used to do. We used to just go in here and filter blur, Gaussian blur, and I say used to because a lot of the time now, I'll just use it in Camera Raw. But let's just blur this a little bit more to kind of get rid of some of this. And let's go to the RGB. And then if we look at this, so there's our before and there's our after from blurring that blue channel. You can see it's definitely reducing a lot of the issues. However, it's not getting us all the way there. Okay, so this is another trick. And maybe we'll just stack it on top of the other one. Control J, we're going to copy it. So all we did here is we've got our image we've been working on, and I made a copy of that. So we have two identical layers on top of each other. Now I'm going to take this top layer and I'm going to change the blend mode from normal to color. So that means when I make an adjustment now, it's only going to affect the color. It's not going to affect the luminance or the luminosity of that image. So what I want to do now is I want to blur it, but I don't want it to go outside so we would just smudge all the colors. So if we go into here and we choose Filter Blur, if we use the regular blur, which is Gaussian blur, we might get smudging. So what we want to do is we want to go down to Smart Blur. And when we look at the Smart Blur, let me zoom it out a little bit. This one's going to try and keep those edges. So why don't we increase that radius a little bit? In fact, we can go very, very high on here. Let's turn that threshold down. Let's turn that quality up. And we've got different modes here we could do. We don't want to do edge only. So let's just play around with this. There we go. And so we're getting kind of crazy with this. But it doesn't matter because we don't need to preserve the detail here. All we want to do is the color. So this is in some ways kind of a little bit like what you would do frequency separation for the color. So I'm going kind of nuts with this. And now I'm going to click OK to apply this. And if we look at this before and after, see how it's reducing it a little bit more? So what we're trying to do is, don't look at the detail, look at the color. And see how we've got, look at the color, see how the color's just kind of very blotchy here. And then we click here, see how it's evening it out. I might even be able to apply a little Gaussian blur in here. Let's try it. Let's try a little Gaussian blur. See how it goes. Yeah, that's actually going to work. Just watch it on the edges though. And then click OK. So if we look at this now, there's before. And now we go after. And see what we're doing? We're trying to, just smudge that. If we look at the top here, let's show you guys what we're doing here. The normal. I still want to even out those a little bit more. So why don't I make my selection tool and I just want to select the face. And I'm just going to choose here, filter blur. And maybe we could try our surface blur. And let's see how this goes. There we go. See, what we're doing is we're evening out those colors. Okay, it looks crazy right now, but when we show everything else underneath and we just put it into color mode, boom, look at that. There we go. So essentially we're starting with that, and then we're going in here and we're applying these. And see what it's doing? Look at the tones here. Look at this area above her eyebrow on the forehead before and after. And see how it's evening out the colors and the tones. Now, you're not going to get a picture like this perfect, but at least you can even out the those colors and just kind of, make it a little bit better there. When you were done, one of the things you might do is select all the layers, Control-Shift-E to create there's Control-Option-Shift-E, so we've got a merged copy on top. And we could go in here. Maybe you might want to go back into Camera Raw and do some more adjustments. We're not, like I said though, we're not going to get this perfect because there's a lot of grain and noise in there. But let's see what we can do here. Let's open it up just a little bit. And maybe touch the vibrance. And then click OK. So there we go. So if we look at something like this, there's our before and there's our after. I think we can make the photo a little bit better. We could possibly get rid of the color cast on it as well. But once again, you're not going to turn that into a beautiful, sharp photo. What we're just trying to do is fix the color. There's nothing you can really do about the resolution. When the resolution loss is there, it's always going to be lost. So we could go there and do that. And I don't know if we want to try, let me try something here. If I throw this into overlay mode, so I've copied it, duplicated it again, and I'm going to go into overlay blend mode, and I'm going to drop the opacity down. So let's just go under here, let's lower this opacity. And then just bring it in a little bit. So what we're trying to do is just give it a little bit more contrast in the colors and in the tones. So we could do that. And then as far as sharpening it, let's try. So we're going to create another layer in overlay mode. And now we're going to go to filter. We're going to do high pass sharpening. So we're going to choose filter, we're going to choose other, and we're going to choose high pass. And I don't know if we're going to get away with sharpening it much, but let's see what we can do. We can sharpen it there. Before and after. Yeah, that's helping. And we could drop the opacity down a little bit maybe. And just give it a little touch. Alright. So that's essentially what we're doing here. And why not make the image in black and white? That's a great idea too, Org. That is a great idea. So that would actually, we could do that too. We could go in here and we could choose to just black and white. And that's another option there if you want to create a black and white version of it. Let me turn those reds up a little bit. Definitely don't want those yellows. If you go there, we start to get that noise. So I'm just kind of trying to find it where we're bringing out the tones without bringing out the artifacts and the noise. And there's always a sweet spot in there. Yeah, so that, I guess that's another option here. And we could make that larger, although this image would definitely need to be displayed smaller because it's not, it's just not enough resolution to display this as a large image. So that was also a good good option. And Dojo, what does high pass do? It's a way to sharpen a photo non-destructively. Because the reason is, if I was to just apply sharpening directly on here, I don't know how well it'll hold up. Let's go and have a look. Sharpen, and we choose Unsharp Mask. Just because of the way the image is, it's it's not bad, but see how it's really starting to just kind of fall apart a little bit. We could put some threshold in there. So yeah, we could get a little bit of sharpening in here using Unsharp Mask. Well, actually, I've gone the wrong layer. Let me grab the right layer that's on overlay blending mode. Let me grab that one. There we go, normal. Filter, and now we sharpen it. It's just, I'm just very reluctant to apply sharpening directly onto something like this. I mean, we could use a smart filter. Let's try it. Yeah, see, it's enhancing the noise and the grain. So I just feel like it might be a little aggressive for this kind of a photo. But the other way we could do it is if we convert to a smart object, like we've done there, by right-click, convert to smart object, filter, sharpen, and we can apply an Unsharp Mask here. Now it's non-destructive because it's being used as a smart object. Maybe that's another topic we should do sometime. And I'll give it a little bit there, and you know, it's kind of applying it. Let's compare that. So we go there. Yeah, I do like the Unsharp Mask better on this particular one. Not the Unsharp Mask, sorry, the high pass sharpening. Because that just gives you, you know, that layer, separate layer. So you're not baking it into the photo. Of course, when you work on a smart object, it isn't either. But sometimes when you get an image like this, you know, that's very much, it's damaged, the pixels are damaged, you've got to be very delicate when you work with it because it's so easy to just push it too far and destroy the image. Oh, thanks, Nick. So, let's have a look, because we did start a little bit late, 5 minutes late. Let's jump in here and let's just look at some of these. So I'm just curious here, Evadan, are you here? Are you in here? Because I see you submitted several pictures here. Just say hi if you're there, and let me know. And there was something nice here that Sandy Carney did, which I thought was nice. Are you here, Sandy? So here's an image. So this was her before image, or his, and then this was the after image. I would have tried the filter for noise reduction because it had the JPEG artifact. Yes, we did. Actually, Christina, we did the noise reduction in Camera Raw. All right, so you know we really don't have time to do this, but I could show you how this was done. But if I look at this, I see there's an image. What she's done here is cropped it down, done some color toning, maybe put a gradient over the top, and composited in some birds and some sky. In fact, why don't we do just something really quick on this? It sounds good. So let's double click it, open it. So we don't have a ton of time left, but I'm going to replicate some of the things that Sandy's done on this, if you're there, Sandy. Because there's definitely some useful things that we could learn from this. So why don't we start with the cropping? So we're just going to crop this down, similar to what Sandy did. I'm not going to try and copy Sandy's adjustment, but I do want to show you because maybe there's some things in there that you guys are curious about. So I'm going to drop it down to about there. And then what we're going to do is, let's do something different. We're going to grab a gradient here. And with the gradient, what I want to do is I'm going to use one of these weird shape ones. If you look at these up here, we've got this weird diamond one. So I'm going to go from black to white with this weird diamond gradient. And watch this. Pardon me, I'm about to sneeze. Oh, pardon me. All right. And now if we go in here, oh, I did it right on top of the photo. I don't want to do that. Let's create a new layer. And let's do this again. So what happens when you do this when you're about to sneeze. And then we're going to change the blending mode to overlay or soft light, something like that. So overlay, soft light, looking pretty good. So this is essentially, you know, how we're getting some of the color grading in there. And what I might do is go under Camera Raw here. So this is going to lose this. Oh, why don't I create a composite layer? So I'm just going to, as I select both layers, Shift Command Option E is going to create a layer on top without flattening the layers underneath. All right, so this is kind of taking on some of that color toning. See that? And now we're going to go in here and we're going to choose Filter, Camera Raw Filter. Now, I believe that Sandy probably used maybe the radial filter or a radial gradient, which will get you a similar kind of effect. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to give it more contrast. So I'm going to punch up that contrast a little bit. Give it some blacks. But then the other thing is I'm going to drop the saturation, because I believe that's what was done to create this kind of soft blue effect. And we're going to recover some of these highlights. There we go. And see how we're getting this nice light kind of effect, like this light's just kind of hitting in here. So that's why we did that. All right, that's great. So see how it just kind of imitates by putting that filter in there. It gives us that, like, we've got light rays kind of coming in. Great. And so, you know, so essentially it was that, and then it was an overlay with some different things. Remember in here, when we created some of these different things, if you remember, I created a library of sky overlays. And then here I have things like birds. Let me double click on these birds. And I'm going to open it up. And by the way, these are a sky overlay pack that I got from online from designcuts.com. I grabbed these. So here's some different things. We've got flocks of birds, and I'm looking for the ones. I think I like these ones down here. These are kind of cool. And so we've got these birds here. So all these are is just overlays, and I'm just going to drag these out. And I could drag them on top of the photo. So we could add some birds. So obviously this is going to be different now than what Sandy did. Drop the opacity down a little bit so they kind of look like they're going into the distance. And then of course we wanted some clouds, right? So let's go in here, create a new layer. I'm going to grab a brush. And lo and behold, remember I created clouds earlier? So here's one of our clouds there. Great. And we have others. So I'm just using brushes right now to create these clouds. And what do we have here as far as other brushes? There's another cloud. That's kind of a nice one. Yeah, I like that. It's probably the same one. Let's drop this down. And yeah, I use the same one. But yeah, you know, you have different cloud brushes. You can start to add different ones. And maybe drop the opacity down on those a little bit too. And we're starting to just build up a composite there by doing some of this stuff. So anyway, guys, do you have any questions? I'd love to see them there. I think what we're going to do here is we're going to wrap up this session, and then we're just going to jump into some questions and answers. So if you guys don't mind hitting that like button right now, that's the thumbs up, and that kind of helps the algorithm for people to watch this video now and also in the replay. So that thumbs up would be great. And also, hit the subscribe button. If you are here and you haven't subscribed yet to our channel, hit that subscribe button down the bottom there, turn on notifications, and then you're going to know when we upload new videos, which is 3 times a week, and also when we do live streams. And one of the reasons I want to get everyone subscribed and turned on is because we're doing these at 1 p.m., and I know that there's some people that might not be able to do these. So sometimes I want to be able to, like, maybe at 9 o'clock in the morning or 10 or 11 in the morning, I want to try and just do an impromptu stream from sometimes. And unless you guys are subscribed, you're not going to know. So that's how you're going to know when I do these quick streams like that, because I can't send out notifications for every single one if I just do one on a whim. And so Jill's asking, what time do we do these? So every Tuesday I upload a regular tutorial. Every Thursday at 1 p.m. Pacific time, we do these live streams, live from lockdown, and this is episode 20. And every weekend, I do our Back to Basics weekends. So that could either be a Saturday or a Sunday. I'm still experimenting to find out what day's best, where I'm going to be doing a Back to Basics tutorial where we deal with some really fundamental things. Website for that, birds, let me get that for you right now. Let me just find that link. Someone was asking about that. And